What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday, our first monster slate of the year. I'm BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets Haber. Coming off a pretty good night last night, came in second in the monster on FanDuel, which was nice on a one entry and one bullet, which felt really good. Really good way to start the season off, and ready to keep it going tonight, man. What do you think?
Let's do it. As I was saying pre-show, I always joke about this before the season, like, who cares about freaking football? And then last time I said that, I cashed big, right? And basically I could go over the next 3 years in football from how I started off. But and yeah, I'm really focused on the 2+2 lineup in football. But we've been waiting for basketball for, I have to say, since March. You know what I mean? Because yeah, we had those 4-game slates in the bubble, whatever it is, but we're getting a full season now, and we've been waiting for it. And look, 2-game slates, and whatever it is. But Bobby, for if those you didn't know, he got second in the monster. He was deep in other stuff, and right. It's always good to get off to a good start. I mean, that is to say the least.
Absolutely.
So let's so with that said, today is a complete colossal mess. All right. So keep something in mind. It is 6 hours before lock, and I already probably have 700 guys I want to play, and probably 300 of them are going to be scratched. So we're going to just go game by game, and I just encourage you all to really not do anything until, like, at the very earliest, like 45 minutes before lock. You know what I mean?
Can I throw an interesting add-on to that? I know we've got a big slate, but this is So I thought the games, because they always do every year when they start the games on the first Tuesday, it's always at 8 Eastern. That's always the first game. So okay. I actually had my alarm set for 4:30 to go check for lineup things. And I was on the phone with my daughter, and she said something about the game coming up in a half an hour. And I said,
oh my God.
And I had to go make the rest of my edits. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Oddly enough, it wouldn't have mattered on that FanDuel lineup, I don't think, because I don't think I changed that one. But okay. I do think that it was just an interesting, like, I almost totally missed the slate that I ended up winning on anyway.
So I will whine for a little bit. I'm gonna whine only because. So I lost. I broke even or lost a little bit on DraftKings. What if I told you that happened when I had 60% Karis LeVert in my lineups?
Ooh, that's rough.
That's rough, right?
That's pretty rough.
Yeah, well, because I also ended up with a huge amount of Dinwiddie. I went deep on Prince also. I really thought, and you know what? I was kind of psyched. I had blowouts. I was all ready to roll. And I'll tell you this, man. I swear to God, I almost went on to nitrogen mid-game and loaded up on LeVert to win best sixth man. The only thing that can get in the way of that is him ending up starting. You know what I mean?
Like, I 100% agree with you.
But I'm telling you this: if a lot of the games are going to be like the one last night, where the Brooklyn's just that much better, and LeVert's going to get that freaking second unit run and maybe get blowout run too. He's going to be like Lou Williams. He's going to be like that 7K guy off the bench eventually that people are going to have to decide on. So absolutely. That was my one takeaway from last night. Aside from that, the Lakers are just completely not ready to play yet, except for Dennis Schroeder, who's totally ready to play.
Yeah, he looked ready to go for sure.
All right, so let's get going. Let's share my screen. And so you know what the theme for me tonight is actually? A couple of things. Number one, I mean, DraftKings is really getting ready for Christmas already because they underpriced pretty much the whole slate.
It makes it kind of tricky, actually.
Exactly. I mean, because it's all relative to how bad, what other value there is. The other thing, is that there are guys that I want to highlight on this slate that I will never play on this slate, but I want to play on other slates. Right. So I want to kind of think about that also. So I guess we'll start off with Cleveland, Charlotte.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just start.
Yeah.
Kevin Love, among other people, have been ruled out. So my first concept of the slate is, again, I'm going to go nice and basic, right? So with Love out, you would think that Andre Drummond would be like a really, really good play. Okay, he's probably a really good play anyway at 8K. But the only thing that Love ever, I worry about with Drummond is that Love does like to get a lot of rebounds. So with Love out of the game, I mean, Drummond's got a cake matchup as far as as far as being able to get rebounds. I think he could just totally blow up. Now, again, is that going to be enough to win the slate? I don't know, but it's certainly a place to start.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd be remiss not to say, I mean, we used to do this also with Love was out. Maybe Larry Nance comes into play again. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it into today's builds, but he's certainly in play. And the other guy I thought of from Cleveland, this is a guy that we attacked many times last year, and he can only get better. And this might end up in that category of guys that I'll play on later slates, but maybe not this one, but I'll throw him in anyways. Darius Garland.
Yeah.
He was a real favorite of yours on a lot of slates last year, and we did really well with him. So I like guys like that. Guys that flashed upside that is just a year better. Not guys that are a year worse, right? And so he's a guy I'm going to keep looking at. And on the Charlotte side, I really didn't get to that much. I think PJ Washington obviously is in play at 4,200 again. I don't know if on this slate though, so I'll just kind of throw him in. And that was really all I got to from this game.
So PJ Washington to me is the closest thing to lock value of any.
Okay.
The only problem is, and while you do get the power forward center now, you're going to see as the slate goes on that you're going to want to play two centers mostly. And Drummond is going to be one of them a lot of the time. So I agree with you completely there. I like Drummond a lot. I like PJ Washington. It's a pretty simple game for me, and I will have probably 60, 50, 60, 70% PJ Washington. That's how high I'm at the moment.
That's awesome.
Now, look, we might find out some other value and things like that. PJ Washington should be about 6K right now. He's about to have a breakout season. You're going to see him at 6K most of the year. I expect him to score 30 fantasy points here far more often than I expect him to score 20. So I love Washington. The problem you get into is if you play Giannis lineups, which, we'll get into that conversation later, you end up with some pretty good power forward options only and PJ and also some good center options. So I would like PJ Washington better if he was small forward eligible. He's not. I like him a ton, and I really like Garland. I think Garland on DraftKings makes a ton of sense. I don't think I'm interested in anybody else in this game except on FanDuel. I do like both. I'm willing to speculate on Larry Nance, and I'm willing to take a shot at he's 5.1 over there. And Isaac Okoro I'm not going to play him, but just keep an eye out. The Nance, the Love minutes could easily go over to Okoro just as likely as Nance, and they could play them together too. But
tell me about him, this Okoro. He's a rookie this year.
Yeah, he was was he fourth overall pick? Fifth, somewhere in I think fourth or fifth. He's really, really good, talented guy. I would say a little bit raw, but is projected to still play about 30 minutes and has some talent. So I don't think I'm going to get to him tonight. Like you said, it's a tough night for it, but I do think that there are three plays in this game that you want to try and get at least, decent exposure to, and that's Washington, Garland, and Drummond.
Okay. Let's do,
Terry Rozier is super cheap on FanDuel if anybody's interested. He's 4.6. I'm not going to do it myself, but I did consider it on one build.
Okay. You want to do New York, Indiana?
Yeah, let's do it.
You want to start that one?
Oh, I'll start off. Yeah. So on DraftKings, this is a tough one for me. I don't know what's going to happen yet with the big man situation for the Knicks tonight. We have Mitchell Robinson as in. I don't not 100% on that, and I'm sort of tempted to even fade Noel. I prefer some of the other centers, but I like him fine enough, and I think he makes more sense on FanDuel again at 3.9 because he's power forward eligible. On DraftKings, just using that center spot, do we want to play Noel over Plumlee? Probably not. I think Plumlee's the better play. But and they're basically the same price, same position, so you can play them together. But then you're leaving out, guys like Drummond. So it's a tricky spot. But I do think that you have to look at Noel for some value. Burks on FanDuel makes a lot of sense at 4.2. The problem is some other guards you want to play. I like Julius Randle a lot here, actually. I know it's a tough matchup and all that stuff. I think that with Thibodeau there, you're going to see Randle as a mid-7, 8 to 8K player. I know that these prices are all off on a lot of people. But I could see Randle easily getting 45 in against anybody. And I don't really think this matchup is as tough for him as people might think. These sort of slow plotting games, he tends to explode in. So that's pretty much my only interest in this game, the guys I just mentioned.
And nothing on Indiana?
Nothing.
Okay. So my thoughts on this is, and I talked about this preseason, this goes into the category of a team and a situation I'm going to want to target, but just not today. So I talked about this a lot, with one of the things that the Knicks had over the last 3 years was clarity of unclarity. You know what I mean? Like you knew that you had no idea what they were going to do as far as minutes goes. But this year you have a coach who's just kind of known for playing his guys, and they've been pretty clear about who their guys are going to be. So at some point, these guys are all going to project with 32 minutes and up, and they're all going to be probably pretty good plays until their price adjusts, starting with, like you said, Julius Randle. And again, I don't know, like you said, if he's going to make it into a main build, but he's certainly in play. From what I heard, by the way, whether Robinson is in or not, I think that Noel is starting.
I agree.
That's the last I heard.
I think that's true, but if Robinson's out, you might get some real upside in those minutes against a big team.
Right. So I'll definitely consider playing Noel if he's not going to be too popular. But I don't see how he isn't.
I don't think he will be, because you have Mason Plumlee, who's 3,700. You know,
we'll talk about that. I guess
you get Hassan Whiteside is sort of the same play that.
Yeah, that's true too.
You know,
so other guys from this game, again, just to keep a lookout for. I don't want to play Alec Burks, but like on another slate, maybe Alfred Payton. On another slate, maybe RJ Barrett. You know, this is look. Not that Indiana is. I don't want to say they're the greatest defensive team of all time, but I don't know. On a 13-game slate, do I really want to attack Brogdon and Oladipo defense? I don't know. I just don't know if I want to. Yeah. I just don't know if I want to do that with a second-year player. You know, And again, in the future. Obi Toppin at 3,700 is going to be a good play. I don't think I think there's other 3,700 guys, honestly, that have more upside than him today. So, and the other thing, again, just because I'm a Knick, I've been watching this stuff. This guy, if this guy ever gets a start, this guy Quigley's really good. Not today. And also DSJ has been playing pretty well in the preseason also. So I kind of agree with you that I'm probably not going to get so much on the Knicks today. But it's just something to look for in the future. Yeah. And on the Indiana side, you know, if you had to, I would say take Sabonis, but I don't think you have to. So it's a really long way of saying I kind of agree with you that I don't have much of interest. But, you know, if I did land on Sabonis or Brogdon, I wouldn't kill myself.
Yeah, I can see Brogdon. I understand the Sabonis thing. I don't know about the upside. Like, I actually think Julius Randle has more upside than Sabonis does.
So. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to? All right. Let's jump over to Miami.
Yeah, I'll start with Miami, Orlando. You know, Bam's a good play at 7,300. I mean, he's underpriced like everybody else on the slate. So I guess I like him a little bit. Butler, you know, I don't know, he's all right. 7,700 for him. Sometime would be a good play. I don't know if he's going to make the main build again. And that's really all I got to Miami. I didn't get to Hero or Dragic or any of these other guys. And on Orlando, I mean, right, you know, Vooch, like another good center play. So I like him. I might take a shot again on another slate with again, I've talked about him a lot, is Cole Anthony coming off the bench. Dwayne Bacon might be starting at 3K. I mean, he stinks, but I mean, I don't know. It's like one of those guys that, you know, we talk about guys you fade and guys you need. I don't know if you need a guy like this at 3K. I don't know.
We've seen
that's kind of where I'm at on that.
Story before from the unproductive small forward from Orlando. Yep. We don't need to play Dwayne Bacon, in my opinion. Okay. I just think it's not that there's other great value. There's other value with real ceilings, mostly at the center position. I mean, Noel could put up 40. Plumlee has 40 at 40 games. We obviously know Whiteside can put up like 60 if something happens. So, you know what I mean? I just am going to go that route personally. I do think in this game, the only guys who stand out as plays even viable on this slate are Bam and Markelle Fultz. And I am not going
Fultz. I forgot about Fultz, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to end up with any Bam, I don't think. But I don't. It's strictly a center thing. It's so hard to get these centers, man. And if he was power forward on DraftKings, I would have some more interest, but I just can't get there.
Okay. All right. I'm going to leave this one to you with all of your prop bets on Washington. Let's hear it.
The disrespect, starting off as a 7.5-point underdog. I mean, geez. But anyway, I understand. Like they're going to get little respect for a while. It's probably going to take them a little while to figure out their whole team. I don't know that I want to get crazy with this tonight. I have interest in Bradley Beal. I believe on FanDuel he is 8-1, and I like him a little bit better over there. But I don't think I'm going to make this the time. I mean, this Philly's a good team. I do think this game will be faster paced than you might think. So, look, maybe I'll get a tiny bit of exposure to Westbrook and Beal, but I think I have a slight preference of Beal. I don't understand why everyone is convinced that all of Beal's numbers are going to go away because Westbrook's there. I've done a whole long thing about how that's not going to be the case because it's never been the case with Westbrook and any high usage teammate. They've all had their bigger years while he's there. In tonight's game, I think what you want to try and focus on is more the other side. I don't mind if you end up on Thomas Bryant on FanDuel. He's not a good play, but he's at 5.9 over there, and he's sort of an interesting, like, in-between play. They're going to have to play him a lot of minutes. He'll probably foul out against Embiid, but he's just like, he matched some of my medium weird builds. On the Philly side, the tricky question is, okay, so Embiid is probably, to me, he's more in play on FanDuel. But I think Ben Simmons is in play. This is a great matchup for him. He does feel overpriced and should have low ownership. This should be a huge pace-up spot for them. So I don't know that I'm going to get there, but I do like both those guys. When I end up making my builds, I don't find myself with that much of either of them, even though I like them both individually as plays, and it wouldn't surprise me if they both put up 50 or 60. Actually, 60 is even possible for both.
All right, I'm going to talk about the Washington thing in a second, but I just wanted to ask you: do you like Tobias Harris at all?
No.
Okay. Here's the deal with Washington. So the question is going to be with Washington is going to be the same question, well, similar question that's going to happen with Chicago, which always happened with the Lakers or whatever it is can you play Westbrook and Beal together? In other words, what effect does Westbrook have on Beal? Do they negatively correlate? Like you said, is Westbrook going to take away usage, or is he going to be a facilitator, right? Because like you said, I mean, when he played with Harden was just fine. You know what I mean?
George, Kevin Durant, yeah.
Yeah, so on a 13-game slate, I don't know if you'll play them together, but that's a question that's going to be asked, I think, every single time these guys are in. Because, look, last year, it was Beal taking up, 50% of the usage, and the other 50% was spread around with a bunch of crap. This year, it's going to be, Beal and Westbrook combining for 80% of the usage between the two of them, and the rest. So the two of them are gonna be in there and responsible for all of the offense. You know what I mean? So I think it's naive to say, well, Westbrook's there, then she shouldn't play Beal, right? So the other thing I should mention is, for those of you that are looking at projection systems and looking at whatever, look, they are going to be projecting points based on usage, right? And they're going to be projecting usage, honestly, based on their tea leaves for situations like this, because there's literally no record of these guys ever playing together, right? And like last night, I mean, like, not that they were wrong or everything, but for someone to actually predict like how Durant and what's his face, Kyrie are going to play as far as usage goes, you're really just guessing, right? And likewise, similar to this spot. So what a lot of projections are doing is really using last year's usage stats, which is kind of ridiculous. So I actually feel as though Beal would be actually slightly under projected today. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, I think that people are overcompensating and giving him less usage. So that's my natural instinct, and I agree with you that if I'm going to play him, obviously you may as well take where he's a better value, right? Which is on FanDuel, because he's going to be 2% on both slates. I mean, like, no one's going to play him. Like you said, it's a 13-game slate, and there's freaking in that Westbrook usage, whatever. So I definitely think he's in play. I don't know how much I'll get to him. And you know what? I think Westbrook's in play too. You know what I mean? What's wrong with freaking Westbrook? Now, the other thing with respect to the matchup, I think with Jay Rich not there anymore, I think Philly might be a little worse on defense this year than last year. They're probably still pretty, obviously good. Whenever you got Embiid, and Simmons, I mean, you have good defense, right?
Right.
But I definitely watch this one. I'm not going to go down to guys like Bryant or, Davis Bertans, guys like that on slates like this. Now, with respect to Philly, I agree with you. I think that Embiid's a good play, but the price is so high at that position. Again, it's another center you have to decide. Yeah. And for me, just from projections, I have them both the same, Simmons and Harris, but Simmons has so much more, triple-double upside, stuff like that.
I don't think Harris, I just want to be clear, like in general, like he might get there occasionally. on these slates, and his price seems reasonable. I just think if you play Tobias Harris on these slates, you're just playing wrong. This is my personal take.
Get a little closer. Your volume just got.
I'm sorry about that. I always cover my speaker there.
Okay, so let's get on with it. Let's get to. I can't quite remember the last time, like you can get Giannis projected. I mean, playing 36 minutes. You know what I mean? Like it's he's in a pick'em game pretty much, right, against Boston. And boy, oh boy, fade him at your own risk, right? I mean, again, you have to now look at this as a full slate, right? I mean, if you play him, then you're probably making a decision, right, between him and Luka, right? If not that those are the only two things you could do, right? But you're probably making a decision. Playing Luka and him together, I don't know, might be tricky. I know you're going to try, but that's definitely something to think about. But look, he's Giannis, man. He's a tremendous play, and I don't want to hear about Celtics defense. I don't want to hear any of it. There's no defense that can that can match up with a 36-minute, a 32 to 36-minute Giannis. Not to mention, God knows how mad he might be from the what happened in the bubble, right? I mean, holy crap. I mean, if he actually comes out this season like wanting to prove something, that's really bad for everybody. That's for sure. I didn't like the few minutes I saw of him in the preseason, really trying to test out his 3-point range a little bit. Not too interested in that Giannis, if you want to know the truth. But I think he's obviously really in play. I don't know if I'm going to get to guys. Look, we played Drew Holiday a lot over the last 3 years. Just don't think this is the right team for him to put up ceilings. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's tough for anybody to put up a ceiling with Giannis in there, honestly. Yeah. And likewise, at Middleton, I don't think I want to play him if Giannis is there. So that was really all I had from Milwaukee. And I hate to say this with respect to Boston, on a slate like this, I didn't really get to too much except for the usuals, right? Except for Tatum and Brown. I mean, they're Jaylen Brown's going to be in play a lot this year. I mean, just because, with no Kemba and no more Gordon Hayward, I mean, he's going to be in play just pretty much every game. As will Tatum. Don't forget, with Kemba going, Tatum can bring the ball up sometimes. I mean, Tatum, this is his year, right? This is his year to be an MVP, or something, to get in that conversation. So these guys are going to be in play every week, or every game. They're, okay plays for me, not top plays, but okay. So for me, Boston, Tatum, Brown, that's it. And from Milwaukee, probably just Giannis.
I like, Giannis versus Luka is a tough argument. Yep. I like Luka a little better today, but it's really close. So I'm totally fine with playing that. And I think you can play them together. There are ways to make it happen. I also like another guy we'll get into coming up, and I also like that game stack. So we'll get into that in a minute. But Jaylen Brown is my desire. I actually do think he's a really strong play in this kind of matchup. It worries me about him potentially having to guard Giannis, and that sort of taking some energy away from him and being phased out a little bit. But I just think there's enough usage without these other guys that you're going to see Tatum and Brown for the most part, but seeming almost underpriced. Now Tatum, they did price up all the way to 9.2, but I think Brown at 6.7 is a really solid play in all formats today. I like him, and again with Giannis right now, I've sort of got it splitting, with a slight lean towards Luka. But again, there's one other guy I like too, which makes it hard. You really can't play all three of those guys. So I'll talk about that one in just a couple games.
Speak up a little bit, Bobby. You faded away a little bit again.
Oh, I just said that I don't like.
Yeah, I know I had it. You were just fading out a little bit.
Yeah. I think I should be good now.
Okay. Any secondary pieces from Milwaukee or no?
Not for me, no.
Okay.
Start New Orleans.
Yep.
New Orleans, Toronto. I think that we are getting to buy low on Zion, and I think we have to play him. That's my personal take. We'll see if I'm right. I think they're going to give him minutes. They gave him 30 plus minutes in the preseason. It's hard for me not to have a lot of interest in him. And just in the same token, I don't mind Siakam on the other side. I don't know how much of it you can really get to. Look for Anunoby in the future, by the way. I don't think I'm going to play him tonight, but I don't mind him in general in the future. I think he's going to be a solid play a lot of nights for us. But I really like Zion, and I don't think I'm going to get to anything else in this game except for Siakam. I just don't. I understand the Lowry and Van Fleet's price seem really good. And it's a good up-paced matchup. New Orleans defense did look a little better this preseason. But that's really it for me. It's too big a slate. I need to start cutting some people. If you've got stuck with a Lowry or Van Vliet, I have no issue with either of those guys. I just personally think there's better ways to build. And I think Siakam would be the counter to Zion, but mostly this is the Zion game for me. I just want to play a ton of them.
Okay, this is it's only a hot take because of the duration of this of the duration of this statement. I don't really think it's even a hot take, but I'll just say it. Today is December 23rd, 2020. This will literally be the last game you could play Zion at 7,500 for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
There is literally no other game where he will be under 7,500. I can't imagine a situation where he would be. So feel free to go ahead and take him. Not to mention that, Toronto doesn't have Serge Ibaka anymore. You know what I mean? Like you need any other reason to take him in the spot. He's just Zion at 7,500. It's ridiculous. So, and if they're ready, rolling him out 30 plus minutes, I mean, it's just kind of a lot. That's the best way I can describe it. And the good thing is that it's a 100-game slate, so no one can be that highly owned, I suppose. So even if everybody agrees with me, what's he going to be? 15%? I mean, I don't know.
It's really hard to speculate on that one this early because I think that he might pick up steam as the day goes on.
Yeah, but how can you just play him and not, Andre Drummond? You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah, no, I understand you. I hear you, man.
So yeah, I think he's a tremendous play. And on the Toronto side, yep, I agree with you on Siakam. He was particularly atrocious during the bubble. So he might have been working on his game with something to prove. It was like kind of the most improved player hangover effect, right? Coming there. So I like him and I like Van Vliet as my two favorite Toronto guys. And you want to, I don't know, you want to stack it up a little bit? I don't know. I don't think you need to today. You know what I mean? But like on the other hand, I mean, the 13 games, I mean, one of them's going overtime, right?
We got one game coming up next that's going to be an interesting one.
I know. And unlike the last 2 years, it ain't OKC Houston.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's feel free. You go for it.
All right, so the Bulls pricing somebody. I don't know what happened. I don't know who was punched in the. I don't know what happened to these guys. Like, do they really expect Lauri Markkanen's going to play 30 minutes? He's 4.8.
I know.
Wendell Carter. This is the other problem with the center thing about playing Noel. Wendell Carter is 4.4. That's ridiculous. Not to mention, the sneaky guy who I really like is Patrick Williams. I think that he might end up having a shot at 30 minutes tonight, and being favored over Porter. Yep. And then you get the more appropriately priced Levine. But you play Levine with a couple of those guys, and I think that what you want to do is, in general, like I don't want to always play Carter and Markkanen together. They're cheap enough where you could probably get away with it, but I would rather, in my Markkanen lineups with Levine, use maybe Patrick Williams in that, and then maybe do the same thing with either Patrick Williams or I'm not going to play Kobe White, so I'm not going to use that as an example, but Zach LaVine with Patrick Williams and Carter and Markkanen, or just
tell me your take on Kobe White.
I like Kobe White a ton. I just think the price is a little bit too much to ask for on this slate. That's simple as that. It's a great matchup for him. He could put up 40 fantasy points. I can completely see it. I would rather just side with Levine. They're close enough in price where I don't think that their average production is going to be the same on a nightly basis. I think Levine is still pretty far ahead of him in that.
Yeah. So tell me about Atlanta.
And then I think this is the game that Trae Young somehow gets ignored. And even the people, like, you go in there and you see the Bulls were number 2 on defense last year against point guard. Well, they had Chris Dunn, one of the best defensive perimeter guys in basketball. It was a much different team. The Bulls aren't going to be able to play slow in this one. And they've got Kobe White and Zach LaVine pushing it up all the time against a team that's going to do nothing but push it up. And I love Trae Young. I think that he's going to be in position to outscore those other guys or be right there with them. And he's a little bit cheaper and will definitely be low owned. So he's your pivot off of the Giannis, Luka thing. If you want a viable one, and I think he is a viable one today. and I like him on FanDuel as well. The 9,700, he's got a much more significant discount over there. So I'm all on board with playing Trae Young and then running it back with Levine and one or two of those other plays that I mentioned.
Yep, and you know, if you didn't like Trae Young, there's other stuff coming too. You know, this is a 13 gamer. You know what I mean? So we'll get to all that. We got all our faves today. Literally all of our favorite shooting guard plays. We're gonna get them all in. And Levine, like I said, is one of them. We play him every game, every year. Yeah, and as you said, you put it very well. I mean, he is appropriately priced today. You know, so maybe today just his relative value to some of these other guys might not be as good as he sometimes is. You know, so there's no big huge rush to play Levine. Although, I mean, playing a Levine Trae Young thing is not the worst idea in the world. You know, the other thing about this game, which should not be forgotten, is that Clint Capella is not going to play. So Collins is probably pretty cheap. Also, let another center play, kind of get into the mix. So yeah, there's
Collins, but 7.6, I can't do it on this slate over Zion.
Yeah, and the other guys, again, you know, this guy's, you know, another second-year guy to keep an eye on is DeAndre Hunter, who's like very low 4K. You know, so he could get in here.
They just have too many bodies, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. I see
it. In general, I'm not going to be playing Atlanta guys. I do like DeAndre Hunter a lot as a player, and I think he's the one who will get the minutes as the season goes. But in general, I'm just going to keep it simple this year for the most part, and pretty much not look to Atlanta on any full slates. Except
Cam Reddish, 3,900. I mean, yeah. All right.
I mean, some there sometimes, but we saw this with Atlanta last year. These guys just don't do anything.
All right. I am going on record as the Houston game gets canceled tonight. That's going to be my
skip it. I don't even think we should talk about it for DFS.
No, I think we just kind of have to. Okay, so
okay, we could try because I don't know who's going to play.
Well, no. Well, let's just tell everybody where we're at right now. Like right now, we just heard that they say that several Houston guys are not going to be able to play because of contact tracing, presumably contact tracing with James Harden, who was, you know, seen at a strip club violating protocol. So I am of the opinion that the whole team is going to be under contact tracing, or enough of them where they just forfeit the game. That's going to be my initial take. Now, but I'll say if in fact they try to play, you know, just watch who's starting, see who's playing, check any projection system you want, you know, with about a half an hour to post time. Because look, to just say I'm ignoring it. Look, if they do play with like 8 live bodies, you know what I mean? They're just all going to be in the winning lineup. You know what I mean? Like, so you just kind of going to have to pay attention to it. You know, like Eric Gordon, if he plays, he's going to, you know, be really good. You know, even you know, just watch and see. That's the best I can describe it. And then, you know, on the other side, Oklahoma City, if they play, you know, you have 2 teams that are basically tanking this year, right? So it's like
everybody says this about Houston. I didn't get the memo about Houston. I think everybody's just gone completely off the deep end. Now, what Harden did and what happens tonight, Houston's not trying to tank. Well, I don't know where that came from.
What's going to be what's going to be interesting again is it sucks that these guys are contact tracers. I was actually what I was getting at was I was going to be all over John Wall and Cousins maybe in this spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you.
But they're going to be out. Oklahoma City, I think that I'm not as, you know, this is not as egregious, so I'm not going to say you'll never get 7,500 on them again. But considering what little Oklahoma City has on their team, SGA is going to be like just the entire team, like for a while, I think. So if they do play this game, I mean, I could see a build where you play 5 Rockets with SGA. I mean, honestly. But again, it's total speculation what happens. The other guys, again, maybe not for today, but just to look for in the future, guys that want to play. Is, you know, we played a little bit of we'll get to him in a minute, but Darius Baisley, who flashed some upside at certain points over last season. So he might at some point get some good run and get to show what he's made of this year. Also, Dort, remember there was that whole stretch where Dort was like was told to shoot the ball every time he touched the ball. He had a couple of good games. I don't know if I'll get to him today, but at 3,800, something to look for. And yeah, so I agree with you that the game is a colossal shit show. But, you know, I just figured I would just go over those small bullet points.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, whatever Houston throws out there, if they do play, I think you're looking at Baisley as a great run back, along with I think Baisley's the better play than Shea personally. Um,
Oh, interesting.
I love Shea as a real life basketball player, but I watch this guy play a lot. He doesn't ever just take control. And he's had his opportunities before. When Chris Paul was hurt last year, he didn't take over. When Chris Paul would sit, he didn't take over any of those games. He had his opportunities, and Gallinari was out. There was plenty of times, and he will this year. He'll have a high usage rate. He'll probably be around an 8K player, so maybe it's a little bit of value there. I'm not as sold as everyone else is that he's going to be all the usage. I could actually see it going where you might see Baisley as like a 20 and 8 kind of a guy. Like he could become that guy really quickly. And I think Dort, like you mentioned, has some upside there as well. But mostly it would be Baisley followed by Shea for me. All right, San Antonio.
What if I told you that if I turned the clock back 3 years ago and I told you that Grizzlies Spurs would be the highest total on the slate?
I know. What's going on?
I don't know if it's actually the case, but it's pretty close.
It's right there. If it's not the number one, it's right there.
So if you want to play like John Morant at 8,400 on this slate, I'm not going to tell you not to. But that's I don't think I'm going to do it. He's definitely the man, and he has triple double upside. I think every game now, right? Yeah. So yeah, overall, I think he's a good play over the course of the season. I don't know. I think DeJounte Murray is a good defender. I don't think that I just don't think this is the slate for him. But maybe I'm wrong. And on the other side of the coin, I do like DeJounte Murray in this spot. Mm-hmm. I like him a lot, actually. I don't think I want to play any of the other San Antonio guys, but I like DeJounte Murray.
I like DeJounte Murray a little bit as well. I don't know how much I'm going to get to him because we've already talked about a bunch of really good point guards, and there's some other ones, including the guy on the other side in this game. I think that if you play a ton of lineups, you have to include Ja as one of the guys.
Okay.
It's absolutely within the realm of possibility that he goes out there and puts up 60 plus fantasy points tonight. And this guy is a monster. I don't think we know. Think about it like a young Westbrook type of player. You know what I mean? The price might seem high because of sticker shock. This guy is going to be right there with those other guys, and by the end of the year, might be literally right there in terms of fantasy production as the other guys. So I do want to be a little bit early on him, and I'm going to play him on FanDuel, not on DraftKings as much. I found that I could do a little bit more middling builds that I liked a little bit on FanDuel, sort of skipping over the Giannis and Luka thing. So I'm playing more guys like Ja over there.
What's interesting about Ja is, I mean, look, it's not fair to compare him to Westbrook, obviously, but one thing that I noticed about Ja last year, especially, is that he always seems to have this really good rebounding floor. Like he'll always go and grab the defensive rebound, which is really important to have, when you're playing daily fantasy sports, like whether it's cash or GPP, it's always good to have a floor of some kind. And that offsets one thing that just kind of tilts me at him a little bit, is that also sort of like Westbrook has become, Ja's like kind of hopelessly unselfish when he's out there. Mm-hmm. Like he'll go for that kind of, I don't want to say fancy pass, but he'll go to get the other guy involved and go for that pass rather than trying to score. Maybe he doesn't have the same confidence in his shot that whatever it is. So that does, I don't want to say cap his ceiling. He doesn't cap his ceiling. He's got triple double upside every game, but he's not a guy that's going to go out and score 40 real life points yet. So yes, I do like Ja.
But 20, 15 assists and 10 rebounds definitely is on.
That'll do it too. That'll do it. You like anybody else from Memphis?
I think that Kyle Anderson is okay on FanDuel at 3,800. I'm not in love with it. I'll just wait to play the rest of the guys. This is a high total game, like you mentioned, but nobody I'm other than Ja that I'm really drooling over. And even Ja, I can't really get to on DraftKings. just
remind me, Jaren Jackson Jr. is out. I was about to say that if you get Brandon Clark at 3,900, you could play him, and he's 5,600. So I'm not too interested in that.
It's tricky. It's tricky to find anything else here.
Yeah,
kid Bain is really good. I can mention that. That kid Bain, they have the backup point guard. He's really good. Desmond Bain.
Oh, really?
This year, yeah. The kid's, he's just like a good basketball player. He's not going to ever be fantasy relevant. He's just a really good
On which team?
On Memphis.
All right, we'll keep an eye on him.
Yeah. All right, you ready to jump over to Detroit, Minnesota?
Oh, sure. Okay. I like D'Angelo Russell, and I like Karl Anthony Towns, and I like who's the I don't want to say the idiot, but who's the guy from Detroit? The point guard. I guess he's fine.
Killian Hayes.
I suppose. I don't know about today's slate, but those would be the guys I would go for. Maybe Cat. Maybe you get Cat at zero ownership. I don't know. Maybe something like that. Maybe that'll do something you could do. I don't want to play Blake Griffin. I don't want to play Derrick Rose. So for me, if I really want to play Killian Hayes, I don't know, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So Killian Hayes, D'Angelo Russell, maybe Cat.
Yeah, I think it's very simple for me on this one. I get the Cat idea. Like, he totally makes sense as a pivot, but I still don't think he's right. And I will play Mason Plumlee above everybody else in this game.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so Mason Plumlee should be the starting center now. He's, they signed him to a decent contract, and he's 3,700. He's projecting to be one of the best values in the slate, and I agree with it. I think he's good chalk. Minnesota's going to obviously have to play big, but Cat gives up more offensive rebounds and block shots, which is a weird thing, than any other center in the NBA. And Mason Plumlee is a guy who can take advantage of that, and what's a pretty good up-pace matchup for a Detroit team that isn't going to play fast. Minnesota will play fast. So I don't like Russell. I don't like anybody else from Minnesota, but I do like Plumlee a little bit. I'm iffy on Hayes. I'm going to have some exposure, but I don't love it. I would really like if he was shooting guard eligible, because I have a lot of point guards that I like. That's pretty much my thoughts on him.
I guess I have a terrible take, but no, it's not for really today. My terrible take is Okafor is better than Plumlee, but that's just me. I've just seen Okafor blow up slates before.
So Okafor can like do things. I mean, as a real life basketball player, they're not even close. Plumlee's actually a good defender, a guy who's been a really valuable member on winning teams. Okafor has never been anything even close to that. But you do bring up an interesting point. Like, maybe it's the wrong slate for it, but
yeah,
at some point, Jill Okafor is going.
Dude, if this were a 4-game slate and Plumlee were 80% owned, believe me, I'd be playing Okafor.
Absolutely.
I've seen it before with my own money. I've seen playing a chalk freaking center with Okafor on the bench and seeing Okafor score 60 fantasy points. I've literally seen it with my own eyes.
It's crazy. It's crazy that Okafor was just born in the wrong generation, man. If he was born, 20 years earlier, it would have been great for him.
Who did he destroy? Was it Embiid or somebody like that, right?
Yeah, beats up on good players too, like good defenders. It's pretty weird.
So yeah, Plumlee will get all the run.
They just
not the Cat's such a tremendous matchup though.
What's that?
Not the Cat is such a tremendous matchup for him though, is it? I mean,
yeah, it's a great matchup for him because Cat actually bleeds fantasy points to the opposing centers. Maybe he'll be better defensively this year. He gives up more offensive rebounds than any other center. He gives up more block shots. He leaves his man to go help side defend so they get more dunks. It's just he's been the epitome of like the guy you want to center against for the last few years.
Yeah, the other guy, by the way, I'm looking at other centers on the roster. I was going to think about playing again. This is another Houston guy, so forget it. But if he plays, Christian Wood.
Yeah, I have Christian Wood in my. I should have mentioned him too. Yeah. But yeah. If he plays, if honestly, if that game plays and they have like 6 players, Christian Wood's like a lock.
But I hate to say this, but if they play and they have 6 players, like all 6 of them are probably a lock.
Maybe, but like. You're right. I don't know how it doesn't.
Because they're all going to be 3,800 except for Christian Wood, right? I mean, like.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
I've seen that before too. I've tried to fade that also, and it never works.
That never works. It always gets there.
It always gets there.
All right, Sacramento, Denver.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Sacramento, Hassan Whiteside is 3,800. I don't know who's starting between Holmes and Whiteside. I do promise you that Hassan Whiteside has more upside than Rashard Holmes. But I think they're both in play if you want to know the truth. But Whiteside at 3,800 is kind of criminal. Bagley, I want to play at some point this year. 4,900. I don't know if he's going to get full run. He's back from COVID. Yeah. De'Aaron Fox, maybe another slate. I don't know. And then on the Denver side, remember, these were like your hero. This is not your heroes. These were the heroes from the bubble, man. I mean, these guys were insane. You know, it was the coming out, not coming out party because he was always good, but it was the Jamal Murray show for like a whole, 2-3 weeks there. I don't know. I mean, there's just a lot of other options today, so I don't know if I'm going to get there. Let's look at these other guys that we sometimes play. Like what's Michael Porter Jr. 6,500. I mean, none of these guys are really standing out today. Jokic, yet another center. A little bit of I don't want to say squeaky wheel or whatever it is. Again, I don't know, not for today, but who was beaking like out of nowhere? I mean, was Will Barton. Like Will Barton was beaking like a few days ago saying, you know what, I'm not interested in the 6-man role. Sorry. You know what I mean? Well, sorry, man. I mean, what can I tell you? So he's beaking a little bit, but it's Will Barton. No one cares about giving him, you know what I mean? Like it's not like other people, not like Antonio Brown beaking, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know if I'm going to get too much of it. I don't know if I can get to Jokic on the slate. It's kind of weird, but I don't like much from that game, I guess.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, other than taking and I think you have to treat the Whiteside thing. Well, they don't have to treat it like it's a long shot exactly, but like there are just a great option. There are other better options. But his ceiling, we know what he can do in literally 20 minutes. He can put up 45 fantasy points. So he's in play for me. But Porter is only in play on FanDuel. That's the only Denver player.
What's his price over there? Is he under 5K?
5,400.
Okay.
Should play around 30 minutes this year, I would imagine. So
you think so?
I mean, I can't see how they don't play him. Like, I mean, what are you doing, especially during the season? Like, let him figure out his defensive issues on the court.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty much it for that one.
Okay, so I'm playing. I don't know, maybe a decent amount of lineups, 20 lines, 30 lines. I promise you, as God is my witness, I'm going to have at least one, maybe two, maybe more with Lillard and Donovan Mitchell.
Oh wow! You thought this one? Okay.
Yeah, and Donovan Mitchell again. He's between him and Chris Middleton. These are the guys that literally have never gotten there for me in my entire existence. And I had to watch it in the playoffs. I had to watch Donovan Mitchell be the greatest player in the history of sports. Okay, and like his shot selection it's atrocious, right? But he gets this shit done with these just incredible like mid-range shots and driving to the basket. And I know what happens when Lillard can get into a freaking back and forth with somebody. So I am going to play at least one lineup with those two. And I don't even know what else is going to be that lineup. Just a lot of other chalk because no one else is doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to play Lillard with Mitchell and let her roll. And that's literally the only opinion I have on the game.
Wow. I mean, I love that as a general strategy thing. I don't think I'm going to do that tonight, realistically. But
it's a terrible slate to do it. I mean, but I'm doing it anyway.
It's kind of interesting. Like, and Lillard did have like some I think 75 or 80 fantasy point games against Utah. This may not be a bad idea. So I might have to reserve one lineup for a little bit of that and give you the nod for it. But
just one.
I especially like the Lillard side of it more than Mitchell. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's nobody in this thing for me. I don't think there's anybody I could play.
You like Gobert at all?
I actually like Gobert's price, and I think he'll do fine. I just, again, look at our centers we talked about. I can't find room for him.
Well, I actually think he might actually show up in some optimals at 6,800.
I think he will. But I think that if he was 7K, people wouldn't want to play him, and because he's 6,800, it looks like a tempting price. That's really what I think about it. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, Bogdanovich is too cheap, also, but like we just don't, it's just, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the slate for me. It is a high total. I mean, it is an up-paced game. Maybe I should give Gobert a little bit more of a shot and dig a little deeper.
I'll tell you this, but I'm also going to tell you this, right? Just not to overstate this Lillard, Mitchell, or thing. I mean, if people are going to wait till late games, for example, to get exposure, I mean, like it's to play Luka, right? I mean, and to play Booker, or you know what I mean? Like if you're going to play Luka with Booker, something like that. The Utah Portland game, like, aside from Gobert, is just going to get zero. So I'm going to maybe I'm going to throw one in, just disclosure. So I'll lose $15 or whatever the hell I'll lose. Mm-hmm. No problem.
Yeah. All right, you ready for the finale?
Yeah, so Luka without Kristaps is usually 12K, right? Or 11.8, something like that. And now he's 10,000. So just like everything else on the slate, I mean, he's really underpriced, and he's just a tremendous play. I mean, he's from a construction standpoint, I think you'll have to decide between. See, I'm very glad that Harden is probably not going to play, whatever, because I'm telling you, I was going to be tempted to play him. You know what I mean? Like with all the nonsense surrounding him, when everybody was going to get either Giannis or Luka, I was going to get Harden at 3%. I was really going to do it. So I'm glad I don't have to. Now it really is. I mean, look, you could try playing Luka and Giannis together. You could make pretty damn good freaking lineups with neither of them if you wanted to also.
Yep.
I mean, we went over so many, like between Zions and you know what I mean? A lot of 7,500 guys that could jam through your lineup and not have to pay up for that stuff, which is very possible. But you probably optimally want to play one of them. And look, between Luka and Giannis, I really will flip a coin. You want to know the truth? I mean, they're both tremendous plays. I guess Luka just has to be I was about to say he has to be the better play, but I really just have no opinion. I'm not going to play anybody else in Dallas. On the Phoenix side, yeah, Ayton is another good play at center. Dallas doesn't have anybody to deal with him. I'm not going to play Boban on the Dallas side at center. And Booker I put him in the same thing as Levine. He's just, it's not that he's particularly cheap today. And he's another guy that you're going to have to kind of figure out what the impact of Chris Paul is going to be, right? So you could argue both ways, and you wouldn't necessarily be wrong until you have like 20 sample sizes, right? Like one way you could argue is that Paul just takes general usage away from point Booker, so to speak, and so Booker's usage will be down. On the other hand, Chris Paul will facilitate him a little more, and he'll get better shots. So I honestly don't know the answer. I'll be curious to get your opinion on that. But certainly have no problem playing Booker. I just don't know if he's as good as some of these. I like, for example, I'll take Zion straight up against Booker in points today.
Right.
You want to know the truth.
Right.
So I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I can't play Booker tonight, and I don't think that Chris Paul is going to have a huge, going to turn his, fantasy game into a nightmare or anything. I think he'll be really, really good. I just think it's going to be very similar. I think he'll become a better real life player from playing on a better team. And I know a lot of nights I would consider him. Tonight he's not the guy for me. But in this game, I really don't see anyone outside of Luka that I'm going to end up playing. I do like DeAndre Ayton, and I went through kind of some builds with him earlier on, but I just don't like it enough to where I'm going to end up marrying myself to it. I could see the 50 fantasy point game out of him. I could also see that out of Gobert at 6,800, and then I could see 60 easily out of Drummond, and then we've got our cheap guys. So it's really hard to find the centers, and even Embiid and Cat you mentioned. There's just a lot of good options, obviously. So I'm gonna go with Luka, and basically that'll be it for this game.
Yep.
I highlighted a list of my guys who I felt like were priority, whether it be value, priority plays. Zion and Drummond stand out to me as being the two biggest on the entire slate in terms of spending up on guys that aren't named Luka or Giannis. Basically, they're my other spends, I should say. The other ones who you'd have who I have like at a lower level of that would be like a guy like Levine or a guy like Beal. And then I have Giannis and Luka as obviously being very similar, and I have Luka being the slightly better play, but I like both of them. Trae Young is my sort of odd pivot off of that. And then for value, I like Plumlee, Markkanen, Wendell Carter, PJ Washington, Whiteside for long shot tournaments, Noel a little bit, but not as much as not as much as I did initially, I should say. Better on FanDuel. And that's mostly where I'm at. I'm gonna play some of that Atlanta-Chicago game, and I'm gonna play some of the the obvious guys like Luka and whatever. But like, you're not gonna get Trae Young and Levine at any ownership tonight as a combination. So
you're gonna be pretty surprised, by the way. I think this is another hot take. I think you're gonna be pretty surprised at the ownership of Zion. I think he's gonna be lower than you might think.
Yeah, I'm not worried about too much ownership unless somebody gets to be like crazy heavy today. And even then, like if it was Drummond, I still will eat part of it. I have no problem playing Drummond, but I also could just jump down to one of these other guys. They're fine with me too. There is a lot of perspective, there's a lot of possible potential value. There's not necessarily a lot of value, but there's a lot of potential value. So you're going to be able to play two studs. Can you play two studs and then maybe squeeze in a 7K guy like Zion? That would be sort of the idea. Like I'd want to play even, I mean, with Luka and Giannis, can you find a way to play Zion also? I don't think so, but it's you can, but it may not be the prettiest thing ever. But that's why I sort of find myself, picking one of them, going a little bit cheaper with Trae Young, which is not that much cheaper, and playing part of that Dallas. That's the game stack, the Atlanta, Chicago, especially the Chicago side, that I feel like could end up paying off in big GPPs this if Houston doesn't play.
I'm actually very I'm very intrigued or surprised. I mean, I'm looking at a collection of projection models, right? And I'm looking at like different guys. And if you saw where Zion was like ranked here, like, and this is not just one site, this is like different sites, mm-hmm. You'd be like shocked. I mean, like he's rated like, I'll just tell you who he rates like behind, like even at like center position, even like DeAndre Ayton, mm-hmm. Bam, Sabonis, mm-hmm. John Collins, and I look, those guys are better than me, right, with how to make these projections, but I don't know, man. I know what I saw.
No, they're not. No, they're projections. There's flaws. Yeah. We know Zion could put a 50 tonight in 28 minutes, and 34 minutes maybe he gets to 60 or 70. I mean, that's what we're talking about with this guy.
Yeah,
he get 25 rebounds in the game. He's a monster. I'm gonna. So I hope you're right. I hope that we get Zion at low ownership. That would be nice. Yeah. And I want to just reiterate before we get out of here something you said earlier. Don't make your decisions until later in the day and we really know what's happening. You're gonna end up getting yourself in trouble. Build a shell lineup, whatever, and put it in a bunch of things that you want to spread it out to, whatever. Just do not make your decisions until there's like an hour to go before these games. There's too many wild cards. We already have had 2 more players announced out from the Rockets during the show, and that game still hasn't been.
Who else we got?
It's Jashawn, one of the guys, Jashawn something, and then another guy whose name I don't recognize. But
it's
be there 11 and 12 men because
it's good. Well, that's good because those are guys we don't have to play now at 3K, right?
Exactly, the guys we never heard of. One thing I don't want to do after NBA just comes back is play guys I've never heard of on the first big slate. It feels wrong.
Yeah, so let's go play Killian Hayes then.
I do know Killian Hayes though, at least that's a little bit more fair. All right, man. Well, this was good.
From Memphis, the Denzel Mims or what's his name? The guy from the Memphis point guard.
Desmond Bane.
Bane, right.
Yeah, exactly.
So guys, just so you know what's coming, right? So tomorrow, I believe, is nothing, right? And then Friday on Christmas Day is Christmas Day and I think NFL Showdown.
Yeah.
And then Saturday is NFL, and then Sunday is NFL. I don't know what you're doing for Christmas. I don't know what I don't know what your schedule is, Bobby. You have to figure out when.
Oh yeah, whatever. I can make it work. I'm going over to a friend's family's thing.
Okay.
Don't worry, we're all responsible and all that stuff. Everybody's getting tested.
Yeah, I'm not a cop.
No, I meant more to the people watching because I've had a few people question me about stuff like that when I posted some stuff about pictures of my family. Anyway, Sheets, all right. I think we did a good job here. I want to thank Sheets. Guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe, all that stuff. Give us your thoughts. What do we do right? What do we do wrong? And we're excited to have this back with you. We will be doing live shows. I will be doing them every weekday, starting on the first of right when I'm back from Christmas. And we'll do the before lock stuff. And every time Sheets can join me, he will. And it'll be a lot of fun. So
this is going to be,
go ahead.
You're going to need 400 like minimum tonight, right?
400 what?
Points.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a crazy scoring slate.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, for Sheets, I'm Bobby saying thanks so much for tuning in here, and we'll see you at the top of leaderboards.